What is going on, Steeler Nation? This is your man, Big B, Brian Hanley. Welcome to Steelers Almighty, man. Um, whew, lot to talk about today. Lot to talk about. Look, we weren't even gonna have a live. I wasn't gonna have a live today. I may have done a little town hall session earlier, but hey, Wednesday is kind of our day to just chill. But the Pittsburgh Steelers had other thoughts. And I'm just trying to figure out what is going on, people. Obviously, the news of the morning, George Pickens gets traded to the Dallas Cowboys, or they're finalizing a deal to trade George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys for a third round pick in 2026, a fifth round pick in 2027, and then we are giving the Cowboys a sixth round pick in 2027. Lot to talk about as far as that is concerned. I don't know where to start other than, first of all, I hate the deal. Okay? I hate the circumstances all the way around it. I thought we had an opportunity to make something happen. First of all, I thought, hey, we can keep George Pickens. You know, we're not paying a quarterback. We can keep Pickens. He has a good year, acts like he's got some sense. We can keep George Pickens, and boom, we got two receivers moving forward. We sign them, but I hate the deal. And that's my first initial reaction is I can't stand the deal. I don't know what the thinking behind it is. I don't know, first of all, the timing of it. 2 weeks after the draft. What the hell are you doing? You're telling me you couldn't have gotten the Cowboys to trade you during the draft or before the draft? You know, did you even call the Cowboys? You knew they wanted another receiver. You couldn't get anybody to take them before that? This is BS. And I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. But whatever. You didn't do it. But if you were looking to trade Pickens, why wouldn't you at least draft the guy? And I understand at the top of the market, the top, or at least the top of the draft, wide receiver wasn't super deep this year. I totally understand that. But you can't tell me there weren't guys that couldn't have helped you. There absolutely were guys that could have helped you. So this is where we are. The Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver room is exactly where it was last year. It's exactly where it was last year. There's no difference. No difference. We got a good receiver. And then the wide receiver room is Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, who played 5 snaps last year of special teams work. Let's see. Ben Skoranek, Scotty Miller. I mean, that's the Steelers' wide receiver room. So I just the only saving grace that I have about this deal, people, is that the Steelers took this trade after the draft, after they didn't help themselves in the draft, and they must have been, we are done with George Pickens. That's the only thing that I can agree with. That's the only thing that I can agree with. Is that we could have, I don't know where that came from. I don't know. Somebody threw a sound effect or threw something in there. Lord Jesus. But the only thing that I can think of is he was going to hold out. He didn't want to sign. They'd had enough of him. I don't know. I don't know. And yeah, I see the comment. The Cowboys think they can control them. And I don't think they care. I don't think they care. I think the Dallas Cowboys look at this as the Cowboys are going in all in this season. They got a quarterback, they got two receivers, they upgraded their offensive line. They're saying, we're trying to win it this year. We're trying to win it this year. So, and I think this is kind of the reason. I think the Steelers are just like, we're done with them. We are completely done with them. That's the only thing that I can is that they got word that he wasn't going to say. Steeler Lee with the super chat. Appreciate you supporting the channel this morning, Super Lee. It feels like they want a bunch of choir boys instead of talented players trying not to crash out. No, you can crash out, Steeler Lee. You can crash out. I've already crashed out. My crash out was before the last hour of me looking all over Twitter and ESPN coming to the realization that the Steelers literally did this. And it wasn't that we didn't think that they could. Yes, Capricorn Steel, I thought it was fake too. I thought, and when I woke up, the first thing I always do, I always check Twitter, and I'm like, yeah, let me look and see what the Steelers are doing. And that was the first thing that popped up, and it was everywhere. When I first saw it, I thought, yeah, this is fake. And then it was everywhere, and I'm like, no, it isn't. I'm like, this is happening. So, that's all I'm saying. Roman Wilson, Robert Woods. I don't know. Ooh. You're right, Big Pun. We were just last night just talking about how teams had learned not to trade for Steelers wide receiver. I guess the talent, I don't know. Super chat by It's Juju. I hope Tomlin gets fired and we lose every game. Well, first of all, the move here, I don't know why you would hope Tomlin gets fired based on this, because this is a move that says I'm very secure in my job. Like, if you think that Mike Tomlin is going to get fired after this trade, you might as well not be a Pittsburgh Steelers fan anymore, because this is a trade that you make when you are very secure in your job. Very secure. To get back a third-round pick, a fifth for 2027, then that's a move that's we're building this roster for down the road. That's a coach that's not going anywhere, people. He's not going anywhere. My man Luke Cage, who's a member, appreciate you, said, Big B, what do you think the next move is for another wide receiver? Maybe. It might be. It very well might be. Thanks for the super chat, Christopher Lee. We appreciate you supporting the channel, my man. Or not Christopher Lee, Christopher McLinn. I apologize. So, but yeah, this is a move that says Mike Tomlin not going anywhere. Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, they're not going anywhere when you make this move to get this type of compensation after the draft. Because 2 weeks after the draft, I could see if the Steelers said, you know what, the offseason, Pickens held out. I don't even want to deal with his ass. Let's move on. I could see that. You know, I 100% could see that. But what I can't see is doing it 2 weeks after the draft for a third-round pick. Like, you got OTAs to get ready for? Like what? Or maybe the Cowboys are like, hey, man, we got OTAs coming up. We need Pickens in here now. Let's make the deal right now. That's the only thing that I can think. Zay Curry, what's going on? How am I doing, man? I've been better. So, and Deb, you make a good point. GP must have said something of he's going to hold out. But if the Steelers really wanted George Pickens to play for him, think about this for a second, people. George Pickens, because when you're a veteran and you hold out a training camp, The fines are stupid. They're like $10,000 a day. I mean, they're crazy. They might even be more than that. I haven't really looked at hold because the Steelers don't have holdouts for the most part. So I haven't really looked at what the fines are, but they're a lot. If Pickens just held out all of training camp, he held out mini camp, he held out training camp, 3/4 of the money that he would have gotten, 3/4 of the money that he would have lost would have been, or I take it back, the money that he would have lost from holding out was 3/4 of the money that he made last year. Think about that for a second. That's how much money he would have been fined. If he held out minicamp and he held out all of training camp, 3/4 of the money that he made would have been gone. And he's a second-round draft pick. He don't have that kind of money. This was the most that he was going to make this year. So he basically would have been playing for free. And if I'm the Steelers and if I wanted him, I'm saying, if you want to play for free, go right ahead. Sit out all you want. So the whole thing about it is, and Dan, you bring up a good point. I think the Steelers knew that he wasn't going to sign a contract, but if you wanted Pickens, you could have franchised him. He couldn't go anywhere. So 2026, if you wanted George Pickens on your football team, he would have been on your football team. Period. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you could say, well, he wasn't going to sign, the franchise tag. Yes, he would have. Yes, he would have. He's not going to give up 20. I think at that time, it would probably be $23 million. You think he's going to give up that payday? No, he was not. So I'm not sure what the situation is. I just don't like when it happened. I don't like when it happened. You can't tell me that the Cowboys called the Steelers yesterday and said, hey, man, we want Pickens. We'll give you a fourth. Because that's the report, is that they initially gave him a fourth, and the Steelers were like, no. And then the Cowboys came back and said, okay, we'll give you a third and then a fifth in 2027. So I think now I wanted to say that the Steelers have like 4 third-round picks in 2027 or 2026. Something crazy. Felicia, we got a third and a fifth for AB. Is that the crash out fee? I mean, AB was AB. Now, AB got traded and he was in his 30s, so that was a little different. But I don't know. AB was also a hell of a lot better than George Pickens, too. So that's the thing. I mean, we can say AB was in his 30s, and he was, but there is no comparison. Absolutely no comparison to AB. So 12 picks in next year's draft. We do, but what are you going to do? I mean, you can use those 12 picks. You can try to move up, but that's the whole thing. It's like people talk about, hey, they got 12 picks. 12 picks aren't, if you just, let's just say you drafted 12 people, they're not making your roster. Like, those 12 picks aren't making your roster. What you can do and what you should do and what the Steelers will probably do is use at least 3 of those picks to move up in the first round, to move up into the second round. You can do that. But you're not taking 12 guys. That doesn't make any sense. So, but we'll see. You'll see. Here's the thing. The effing guy says y'all got to relax. Steeler Nation dude is a cancer. Y'all would have rather him destroy the locker. He wasn't destroying the locker room. That's the whole thing. Is Pickens wasn't destroying the locker room. He may have been an ass. I go, but he wasn't destroying the locker room. Khan needs ousted, says my man Joe. No, I don't think he needs ousted just yet. I just don't like the move. I don't like it. I don't like it at all, to be matter of fact. Can't trust someone, says Zay Curry. Can't trust someone who wears a shiesty all year long anyways. I mean, That could be true. If Joe says if we let him walk after this year, we got a third compensatory pick, I think, in 2027. Okay. But so what? That's in 2027. So Joe's crashing out. Says Khan needs the hook. Joe is officially crashing out, people. He's crashing out. You're right, Mark Malone. AB was still going hard. Yeah, he was absolutely. He was still cooking. And then it was once he got traded, AB just officially crashed out because he goes to Oakland. Remember, he froze his feet in Oakland and cussed out the general manager, cussed out the coach, cussed out everybody, gets released, goes to the Patriots, cusses out, the owner there. I mean, he officially crashed out. So F Trade says, Joe, yeah, he's crashing out, people. Somebody grab Joe and give him a hug. Or not, just somebody grab him because he's crashing out. It's not an F trade. We don't have to like it, but it's not an F. It's not an F. And I agree with you, Steeler Lee. I just think it was at the wrong time. It is not necessarily the wrong move, other than, let's not kid ourselves. The Steelers are worse today than they were yesterday. Let's not kid ourselves about how good the Steelers are. We're worse today than we were yesterday. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. So, just a fact. We're not as good today as we were yesterday. So, Rock Taylor, stop it, big pun. I don't know, Angel. I don't know why. Yeah, Joe, come on, man. We'll give you a hug, brother. Steeler Lee, thanks for the super chat. What's the vision for this year? I can't see it. I don't know. Here's the thing. Does Aaron Rodgers come here now? Now, I know a lot of you didn't want Aaron Rodgers on the team to begin with. So if you're Aaron Rodgers, do you come to the Steelers? I'm just, And maybe the Steelers are like, you know what? We're rebuilding this wide receiver room. We are done with the malcontents in the locker room. We're done with it. Maybe it's just he was more trouble than what he was worth. Michael Barron said he's glad he's gone. Joe still crashing out. While we get DK, let Russ walk, get fleeced by Rodgers, have a great draft. Yeah, Joe, come on, bro. Come on back, man. We got you. We got you, brother. We got you. Come on back. So, debunk the lie. Said this organization would trade. Said this organization would trade the entire roster before trading mediocre Mike. I won't take this team seriously until that facade of a coach is removed. What a joke. Has been for a decade. Another man crashing out. Again, you don't have to like Mike Tomlin. And if you don't want to take him seriously, I suggest you probably get another team to root for, because this is, like I mentioned earlier, this is a trade that says Mike Tomlin's going to be here for a while. So if you can't take the Steelers seriously and you're that upset by it, don't get me wrong, everybody's entitled to do what they want to do. But if that's your real feelings, I would say you should probably get another team to root for, because Mike Tomlin not going anywhere. This is a trade that says I'm not going anywhere, that I am rebuilding the room. So, and that it looks like that's what they're doing. Roman Wilson really has to step up. I get it. Yeah, Sparks, GP, gone. He's gone. Zay Curry, you don't leak something out like this only to come back and say, no, the deal is not going through. GP is gone. Let's wrap our mind around that. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Usually I can come back and I got something clever to say. I got something funny to say. The man says, sell the team. I don't have anything to say. Like, I think they're not going to sign like Amari Cooper. Those are the names that are out there, like Amari Cooper, DJ Chark, Keenan Allen. I'm like, those are names. I would actually take Keenan Allen, but not Amari Cooper. Here's the thing. You don't necessarily always hear, look, I live here in Dallas. Look, Amari Cooper is a problem in the locker room. He's a problem in the locker room. That's why Dallas got rid of him, because he was a problem in the locker room. So, it wasn't that he said things publicly, but in the locker room, Amari Cooper was an issue. So if we just got rid of a guy that was an issue, why are you bringing in another one? Doesn't make sense. That's less talented. Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to me. Mac, the Guru, Baltimore Gaming says, we don't want no hostages. I mean, yeah, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Matthew, Pickens is not the best receiver. DK's better than him, but I get it. Second round pick should have been what was on the table. But you know what? You get what you can get. If you're ready to get rid of him, you get what you can get. Do you think this is similar to the Claypool trade? Come on, bro. Now that's one of the bigger crash outs in America. Claypool wasn't even close to as talented. You got a third and a fifth. It's not close to the Claypool trade. No. The Steelers got over on the Bears. The Cowboys aren't getting over on the Steelers. It may not be everything that you wanted, but look, you got to remember, the Steelers put out that they were, I don't know, they were shopping George Pickens during the draft and nobody bid on it. So this is not news that they were just trying to get rid of him. It's not news. So, yeah, I'm not sure Aaron Rodgers is coming now either. Because, Aaron Rodgers, he likes good receivers. He wants some familiarity. Well, the guy that's out there on the trade market anyway is Allen Lazard. You're telling me now the Steelers got to trade for Allen Lazard? Like, we got to trade for that guy? And if I'm the Steelers, what does that look like? Give him a seventh round pick in 2027? Okay, great. We'll give you that. You're going to have him. I don't know. Torsha Jackson says Pickens' attitude makes him not worth as much. It's a contract year. A third round pick isn't bad. I agree. When you got to deal with that attitude, a third round pick. So, Mark Malone, we're going to be running it like a mofo. Yeah, probably. Steelers are going to run the football. A lot. Oh, man. Whew. Allen Lazard. That's the guy. Roman Wilson. I wish it was Roman Wilson's season, but unfortunately, we don't even know if Roman Wilson knows the playbook yet. And if that's the case, like, what did Roman Wilson do from the end of the season to now to say, you know what? Let's trade George Pickens. We're going to be fine without George Pickens. Like, what has he done? Like, there's been no practices. What, he upped his squats 25 pounds? Man, boy, I tell you what, Roman Wilson looks real good on the bench. Like, there's been no practices. There's been no OTAs. There's been no nothing. No, literally nothing. Oh, goodness. Uh, uh, uh. Oh, well. Oh, well. We'll see. And we didn't draft a receiver. I'm actually, the thing about it is, I was bent on that early this morning. We didn't draft a receiver, and then we make this trade after the fact. But even still, I still like the Steelers draft. Now with that fourth round pick, a lot of people like Jack Sawyer. Would you have rather had Sawyer or would you rather have a receiver? Knowing what you know now. But even still, I still like the Steelers draft. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, and Rob said he's been done with this mediocre team. Rob, you're just spud hurt just like the rest of us. You're not done with us. You're not done with them. You know it. I know it. Trust me. I'm with you, brother. I'm upset too. My man Joe's been crashing out the last 20 minutes. He said, God rest his soul. The Steelers' wide receivers are in shambles since wide receiver coach Quip passed away. I mean, yeah. But he was here with AB was here. So I get it. Yeah, now Joe's really crashing out. In what world does keeping Watt on the roster do now? What? Huh? Yeah. We got to see. Michael says Will Howard, because we got Will Howard in the 6th round. That makes up for not having George Pickens? Or you just like the draft because of Will Howard? Yeah. That's my whole thing. I'm just like, yeah, Jack Sawyer seems fine, but knowing what we know now, would you have rather taken a wide receiver or the number 4 outside linebacker? So you could say we had outside linebacker depth, even more depth. It's a good point. I still like the draft, but we'll see. We'll see. But this is, get it all out, people. This is therapy. This is therapy. We got to get it all out because, first of all, where else are we going to get it all out? But get it all out. Let me know what your thoughts. George Pickens getting traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a 3rd round pick and a 5th in 2027, and the Steelers give up a 6th in 2027. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? So, Lindsay says that Khan got fleeced. Nah, I don't think he did. I don't think he did. Look, people, they were shopping Pickens. Nobody was biting. You got to remember, wide receivers that have attitudes, I mean, it is what it is. Wide receivers with attitudes don't bring in the same draft capital as wide receivers that have good attitudes, regardless of the talent. It's just the way it works now. Because teams are fed up with dealing with it. And they don't have to. And then they don't. So, Watt needs to be traded. Why does Watt need to be traded? Like, what does this have to do with TJ Watt? My man Capricorn says AFC North secondaries just breathed a sigh of relief. You damn right they did. You damn right they did. So, Steeler Lee, I'm calm now. Just impatient to see where we're trying to go with these moves. Exactly. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, okay, what are we doing now? What are we doing? I would take a slice of pizza for Pickens. He was too much of a diva. No. I mean, look, too much of a diva with extreme talent. Let's not leave that part out either. Everybody talks about, he was a diva, he was a diva, he was a diva. He also had talent. You can't leave that part out either. And I said it before, and I'm not changing my mind because he's no longer a Steeler. George Pickens, as far as talent-wise, is a top 10 talent in the National Football League. You can't debate that. You can't debate that. Now, there's more to it as far as being a receiver, but as far as talent alone, top 10. So, top 10. We got to figure something out. So, exactly, Joe. Yeah, we can't. Look, Pickens is not here, and we can crash out today. But again, let's not act like we didn't want to see them be on the field together. We all did. We all wanted that. You can't be, oh, let's get rid of him. He's terrible. No. We're not going to be that fan. We're not going to be that. We all wanted to see it. We all thought it was possible. We all wanted it to happen. Oh. Well, yeah. I mean, we're going to find out here pretty soon. Ali, I love what you said. Said the truth will come out shortly. Yeah. Of what was, because look, the Steelers are having rookie minicamp this weekend. They're going to have a press conference. There might be a question or two asked about it if the Steelers don't have a press conference today. So we're going to find out soon enough what the thinking was. They won the AB, DJ, and Claypool trade. I'll trust, but a horrible trade if you want to win this year, says Nebby. Thank you for the super chat and supporting the channel. And maybe they don't want to win this year. Every move that the Steelers have made doesn't scream, hey, we're trying to win in 2025. I mean, you just think of all the moves that Pittsburgh Steelers have done. What move tells you, other than signing DK Metcalf? But other than that, what move says, you know what, we're loading up for 2025? Like they didn't sign any free agents. Like they didn't spend money, and they had a ton of money. They didn't go out and sign a ton of free agents in free agency. They didn't do that. We still don't know what the quarterback situation is. They didn't address that. You know, there's lots of things that the Steelers didn't do, but I don't know. It's interesting. If y'all don't mind, man, if you don't mind, please continue to hit the like button. And if you're in here and you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to Steelers Almighty, man. We got a lot of stuff that comes out every week. Lives, shows, a lot of different stuff. Appreciate y'all's support. Steeler Lee with the new super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel like you always do. Outside of not wearing another man's name on your back, I see why you don't wear jerseys. Man, I say it all the time, Steeler Lee. I root for the team, and I love players that are on the team, but I understand this is a business, and he could be here today and gone tomorrow. I totally understand that. So everybody that's got a George Pickens jersey, now what do you do with it? It's like, you love him. So, nah, Joe, look, I'm not going to talk you off the ledge. I'm not telling you not to crash out. You didn't hear me say that. I just said somebody give you a hug. I didn't tell you not to crash out. I've already crashed out. You know, my crashing out is over with. I did that before I got on today with you guys. I didn't tell you not to, brother. That's not my place. Not today. Not with this trade. That's not my place. There's other times when I can tell people not to crash out. Come on, relax. I'm not doing that today unless you just say something outlandish. And you haven't said anything outlandish. I know that we're crashing out. I get it. Torsha said buying a Pickens jersey because it's going to be half off. You ain't never lied about that, Torsha. And you know what? You can buy a Pickens jersey, and for the right price, you can have that thing covered up. You can have his name taken off and somebody else's put on there for less money than what you could have bought his jersey yesterday for. So You're damn right. Not a horrible idea. Not a horrible idea. So Pickens is going to be even more miserable in Dallas because he's not going to like sharing his teddy bear with CD. Well, first of all, he's going to the Dallas Cowboys, and he is unquestionably the second best receiver on that football team. There is no if, ands, or buts. CD Lamb is better than him. Okay? So there is no if, ands, or buts about that. But I'll also say this: Dak Prescott is miles better of a quarterback than Mason Rudolph. Now, there's going to be some people in here that, oh, Dak is terrible. Stop lying. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You would take Dak Prescott on the Pittsburgh Steelers right this very second. I would. You would. We all would. I wouldn't want to pay him $60 million. Don't get me wrong. But you're lying if you're saying you wouldn't take Dak Prescott. So he upgraded in that fashion as far as who his quarterback is. He upgraded from any quarterback that he's ever played with. He upgraded. So keep that in mind too. Zach with the super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel, my man. I appreciate it. Says, love the show, man. Think this is addition by subtraction. Here, let's get a Steeler guy with the third. Also, DK get 14 now. I mean, you're right. DK can get 14 now. That's one thing. You know, hopefully they didn't make a whole bunch of number 4 jersey. Wouldn't that be nasty work, though? Wouldn't that just be nasty work if DK now says, you know what? I'll go ahead and take number 14 now that Pickens ain't here. I mean, oh my God. That would just be just nasty, just diabolical work. Lord have mercy. But I like it. I like it. I like it. So, and here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. Let me just ask this question and see if you guys agree. I agree the quarterback room is worse than what it was last year. Okay? A lot of us like Mason Rudolph, but the quarterback room is not as good. Okay. It's not horrible, but it as a whole, the room isn't as good. But how much worse is Mason Rudolph going to be than what, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields were? I think he'll be worse, but he's not going to be that much worse. Okay? The defense is better. You can't deny that. The defense is better. The wide receiver room compared to last year, would you say our wide receiver room is better or worse? Do you think the offensive line is going to be better or worse? So that's all I'm saying is like everybody, we're jumping off a cliff, myself included. We're crashed out. But, I mean, like the offensive line is going to be better. If everybody's healthy, the line will be better. It just will be. So the wide receiver room, I mean, who aren't we in the same situation as we were last year? Other than we have Robert Woods versus Van Jefferson. And Robert Woods is better than Van Jefferson. So what's different? What's different? So that's my only thing. The defense is better. So, I mean, I know I'm stuttering now, but all I'm saying is it's basically the same as last year, and we won 10 football games last year. Think about that for a second. And then you start looking at the schedule. You get rid of, I don't know, we got rid of the Chiefs, but we get the Bills. We get rid of the Eagles, but we got the Lions. The schedule, I think, might be, as long as they don't backload the schedule like they did last year. I think the schedule might be more difficult this year because the NFC North is better than what we got to play last year, than the NFC East last year. So the schedule, I think, is more difficult. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Just think about that. I don't know. We'll see what happens. This is nuts, but it's crazy. It is crazy. Wicked says mediocre thought. Who cares about 10 wins? I'm with you. You all know me. I'm past the give me 9 or 10 wins, but get blown out in the first round of the playoffs. Y'all know my philosophy. I've said it a million times. If the Steelers could qualify for the playoffs and not win a regular season game, but could win 1 or 2 playoff games, I would take it. I would take it. I'm past the, hey, we won 9 games. Hey, we won 10 games. I'm past that. Like I said, if they could qualify without winning a regular season game, but win 1 or 2 games in the playoffs, I would take that over the damn 10 win shit, because I'm over that. But on the outside looking in, it's still 10 wins. I don't have to like it because I know that we don't win in the playoffs, but so that's the whole thing. Torsha said he wasn't going to drink today, but the Steelers always find a way to feed my alcoholism. You're damn right on that. Awareness. Thanks for supporting the show with the super chat. The timing of this trade makes no sense, but hey, no, the timing is terrible. The timing is terrible. I'm sorry, I got people, my family's blowing up my phone because they now know that the trade's going through. My family's texting, calling. I'm like, I'll get to you, man. I'll get to you. I'll get to you. So, yeah, no, Mark, I don't think the Steelers are going to get screwed with 3 games in 11 days again. And 2 of those games are against 2 of the best teams in the National Football League. I don't think that's going to happen. Hell, 3 of them. Wasn't it Baltimore? It was Baltimore, the Eagles, and the Chiefs in 11 days. Lord have mercy. Wicked says 10 wins means nothing. I don't think it means nothing, but I'm past the, hey, we get 10 wins. I need a playoff win. I need playoff wins. Hell, if the Steelers could get, like I said, I don't care if they could get in with just realistically, if they got in with a losing record and they got in the playoffs and then they won a playoff game, okay. Give me some hope in the preseason or in the postseason. That's all I'm asking for, is a little bit of hope. So, just some hope. Mm-mm-mm. Said this is not a playoff team. How many of us said the Steelers weren't a playoff team last year and somehow they made it? So, I'm not, you know me, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to bet against the Steelers winning 9 or 10 games. I'm not going to bet against that. But I'm also not going to bet that the Steelers win a playoff game. I'm not going to bet that either, because and I care more about playoff wins. So I care more about playoff wins. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Steelers fan, so I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and lie and say, oh, well, the Steelers won 10 games. It means nothing. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that guy, because that's a flat out lie. And anybody who says that winning games week in and week out doesn't mean anything, you're lying. You're happy. We get it. But two things can be true. You can be happy that we won those games, but you can also be pissed off because you know we can't win a playoff game. There's nothing wrong with being happy that your team won regular season games and being pissed off knowing that they have no hope to win in the playoffs. I mean, there ain't nothing wrong with that. You're not wrong for that. You are not wrong for that. Not at all. So, how were we a playoff team last year? Because we made the playoffs. We won 10 games and made the playoffs. What? I mean, did you watch the regular season? Did you watch the NFL last year? Because if you did, you knew that the Steelers were a playoff team because they qualified for the playoffs. Other than that, then I don't know what you mean. Yeah, Thunderbird this early, people. I don't know if you should be drinking the Thunderbird. I don't know if you should be drinking the Thunderbird. So, I hate the fact we're going to lie and say we're contending this year when all the moves are saying we're tanking. I don't think the moves saying that the Steelers are tanking. I don't believe that because the Steelers have had an opportunity to tank for several years and they haven't. I've said this over and over again. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a team that has been in rebuild mode for the last 5 years. They have been rebuilding. But how they're doing it is if you have a good defense that can keep you in football games, you can rebuild while still being relevant and still winning. Most teams don't do that. Most teams just bottom out. The Steelers haven't bottomed out. They won't bottom out. It's kind of their thing. They just won't bottom out. They're going to rebuild and reshape the roster while still being relevant, still winning football games. That's what they've done. They're in the middle of doing that. The problem with that for us fans is that it takes so much longer to rebuild than it does if you just completely bottom out. So it's not a mystery. It really isn't a mystery on what the Steelers are doing. When you have a good defense that can keep you in football games and you can do just enough on offense, you can win 9 or 10 games a year. You can't win in the playoffs, but you can win 9 or 10 games a year. That's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing. I've said it a million times. They're rebuilding, but they don't want to rebuild while losing. They don't want to do that. So they're not. Pretty much that simple. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Torsha said Pickens jersey still $175. Give it an hour. Wait until the trade is done. Wait until the trade is 100% official. And then wait an hour. You'll be able to get that thing for $40. So Rudolph is going to be the new Geno Smith. Yeah, I don't know. Because the only reason that I say that, if the Steelers could have Geno Smith on their roster right now, you'd take him in a heartbeat. So you would take him in a heartbeat. Lindsay says you better not trade TJ. Yeah, I don't think TJ is going to get traded. I think TJ is a Steeler for life. No, it is a lot of rebuilding. You're right. It is a lot of rebuilding, but I'm just telling you what the Steelers are doing. I've said it from the day I started this channel a year ago on April 4th. I've said the Pittsburgh Steelers are the one franchise in the National Football League that has rebuilt and is in the middle of rebuilding, but they've done it while still winning. And when I say winning, I don't mean winning championships, but still winning. Like most teams, you just think about it. When teams rebuild, they're terrible. They get rid of assets. They play a lot of young guys. It's a 1 to 2 year Think about New England Patriots. They're rebuilding. Think about what New England has been the last 3 years. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. New England has been the last 3 years. That's rebuilding. Does the Steelers look like that? Absolutely not. Because, again, the Steelers keep a really good defense. You know, and when you keep a good defense and you play great special teams, if you can make just enough plays, you can win 9 or 10 football games. It's just not a mystery, people. It's not a mystery on what they're doing. It's not. It's not. They've done this forever. Or I would say the last 5 years. I shouldn't say forever. The last 5 years. They're rebuilding while still remaining relevant. Most teams can't do that. Most teams don't do that. Because what you do is you get stuck in mediocrity, which I've told you guys a million times as well. The death of your franchise is mediocrity. Period. End of story. Mediocrity is the death of your franchise. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that's what this franchise has been in and continues to live in. And this trade tells you again, the Steelers are rebuilding because they're wanting to rebuild the wide receiver room. And they're done with George Pickens and his antics, regardless of his talent. They were done with that. And they're rebuilding the roster. That's all this move was. So that's all this room was. Tomlin lost to that terrible New England team on Thursday night. He did. He sure did with Mitchell Trubisky as the quarterback because he wouldn't take him out. You're damn right he did. Still doesn't mean New England wasn't terrible. Still doesn't mean the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't make the playoffs because they did. How they made it? Did they back in? Yes. The thing about it, the Steelers didn't back into the playoffs last year. You know, the 2 times before that the Steelers made the playoffs, they literally backed in. I think it was like 3 teams both times had to lose on the last game of the regular season. Pittsburgh won, and then they got into the playoffs. Because remember, it was the Chargers, because they had that idiot coach that didn't want to take a tie that called a timeout against Oakland. So then Oakland was like, screw you, ran another play, and then kicked a field goal and beat them. You know, the Steelers were dead in the water. So that's the whole thing. That's where I'm at with it. That's where I'm at with it. Wicked says, TJ should request a trade, to be honest. We're wasting his time. He's not getting a Super Bowl before he's done. He knows that. DK will be pissed as well, wasting his time. These guys want rings, not 10 wins. Well, first of all, DK wants money. That's why he came to the Steelers. So that theory of him wanting a ring is out of the blue. TJ Watt also wants money. Now, you can say they want rings too, but first and foremost, they want money. DK came because the Steelers gave him $150 million. TJ Watt will stay because he's been a Steeler, and the Steelers are on the verge of paying the guy close to $40 million. So you can talk about rings all you want. They want money. And keep that in the forefront of your mind. Money. So I know you're going to argue that because you want to be right, but that's fine. Those guys want money. Money. And didn't say they didn't want a ring. So never said they didn't want a ring. I said they want money first. First and foremost. So the Super Bowl rings not equal money? No, they don't. That could be one of the dumber statements I think I've ever heard on this channel. Waste of $40 million. Waste of a generational talent. I mean, maybe. 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 Sickening. I don't know if I wouldn't pay TJ $40 million. Again, you guys get stuck on the dollar amount on what somebody gets paid. And I keep telling you, don't be stuck on the dollar amount of what somebody gets paid. Be stuck on the amount of cap space. What's the percentage of the cap that they're taking up? Because you could be paying somebody $300 million a year. But if it's only 6% of the cap, then what difference does it make? So, mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. Let's see. Oh, Pickens isn't worth his weight in dog shit. A prima donna bum. He didn't want to play because he's selfish. Good riddance. I don't think I would take that approach on talking about Pickens. I don't know about that. Hippopotamus. But you're right about his attitude. I mean, he had a bad attitude. I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Exactly, Capricorn Steel. It's the cap percentage. It's not the amount. The people that get mad about, oh, I wouldn't pay anybody this, your pocket watchers. Don't do that, man. I'll get on you every single time for doing that. Don't watch how much somebody else is paying or is making. That's like if somebody's making $300,000 and I'm mad that they're making $300,000. Don't be mad about them. Congratulate them. As far as the Pittsburgh Steelers are concerned, yes, there is a salary cap, and you got to stay within it. It is a hard cap. It can be manipulated, but it's still a hard cap. Don't be concerned with how much somebody makes. Be concerned with the percentage of the cap that they take up. You know, if TJ Watt getting $40 million takes up 15% of the cap, yes, then we have a problem. You would be right. Oh, okay, hold on a second. What the hell are we doing? Then you can have a problem. But if that 40 million, and I can just do the math, you know, well, it's when that kicks in, it would be 7.2% of the cap. I mean, if you can't live with that for TJ Watt, then you don't even want TJ Watt. So Michael Barron said if done right, Watt could be, or Howard could be the starter. Is anybody out on Will Howard actually being the starter this year? Because I don't know that I'm out on it. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, you got to start Mason. I'm like, at this point, whoever the best man win. That would be the best man win. Have it be an open competition and the best man win. So whoever the best man wins at this point. And I talked about Rodgers last night on the big show, even though I swore I wouldn't talk about him. But if he comes, great. If he doesn't, I'm okay with it. I'm not begging. I'm kind of like Cam Hayward was initially. I'm not begging for Aaron Rodgers to be part of our team, even though Cam backpedaled like a defensive back on all of that. Like, if he comes, great. If he doesn't, I'm okay. And I'm kind of with you, Torsia. If he can come and win the job, if Will Howard can win the job, I'm with it. I'm with it. But I'd rather sit him and have him watch for a while. My whole thing is the NFL changed. If you guys didn't notice, I'm sure you did. You guys are smart fans. The NFL changed what they do with quarterbacks. Before, quarterbacks used to come in and sit. They literally came in and sat, watched, learned. There wasn't this rush. And that was back when when you drafted a quarterback, they were guaranteed like $40 million. Remember Sam Bradford? That's why they made the change. Sam Bradford came in as a rookie, and he got guaranteed $50 million. Now, Bradford wasn't a horrible quarterback. Injuries killed him. But still, I mean, guy like Jamarcus Russell, if he hadn't blown all his money, Jamarcus Russell got like $36 million guaranteed to be an absolute stiff. So it's not like that. And I always say this. If Patrick Mahomes can come in and sit for a year, then any damn quarterback can come and sit for a year. And I don't care what your quarterback situation is either. I know they had Alex Smith and he was good and the Chiefs made the playoffs and all that good stuff. I don't care. I don't give a damn. If Patrick Mahomes can come to your football team and sit for a year, then everybody can sit for a year. If you're not confident enough in your ability as a coaching staff or secure enough in your job to, hey, man, we're drafting this quarterback, but he needs to sit for a year and learn. That's a you problem. That is a you problem. So that is a you problem. And you're probably right, Mark. I don't think Will Howard is going to beat Mason Rudolph. If for no other reason, Mike Tomlin doesn't like playing rookies. I mean, we know that. Mike Tomlin doesn't like starting rookies. So, if for no other reason, but he did play baby hands. If y'all remember, baby hands ended up getting a start. Now, granted, it was Mitchell Trubisky. Lord. Can y'all really believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers had Mitchell Trubisky as its starting quarterback week 1 of a National Football League season? Mitchell Trubisky. It is so hard to be a Steelers fan right now. It is so hard to be a Steelers fan. I'm going to continue to do it. I'm never going to change. Oh, goodness. But it is hard. It is hard. Torsha says, trading GP makes me want Rodgers even more. Not saying we need him, but it would help make this move look better. You're right about that. I know there's a lot of people that don't like Rodgers, don't want Rodgers, but the football team would be better if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the team. You're kidding yourself if you don't believe that. You're just letting your hate for Rodgers get in the way. And trust me, I was one of those people. I fought it because I don't like Aaron Rodgers as a person, even though I technically don't know him. I shouldn't say as a person. I don't like the persona that he puts out there. That's what I don't like. I can't be a hypocrite. I don't know the man. I've never spoken to the man. How the hell am I not going to like him as a person? But I don't like the persona that he portrays to us. Let me say that. But I don't need to like him if he plays good football for us. I could hate his persona. Just throw touchdowns, read the defense, get the ball out of your hand. I'm fine. I'm fine. So, I'm fine. He said, tell Rodgers to get off the LSD. Oh, man. Wicked got a good point, says, so we get off one diva and bring in another quarterback diva. That's usually not the right formula. You're right. That's usually not the correct formula. So, and no, Rodgers can't be happy about losing George unless the Steelers told Aaron Rodgers, look, if you come here, there's a strong possibility that George Pickens is not going to be on this football team. Those are conversations that you have to remember that could have taken place. Is that we can all say, hey, man, George Pickens, Aaron Rodgers, man, we got these two guys. But you don't know that if they said, look, just if you come here, just think that you're going to have DK is going to be the guy. George is not going to be on this football team. So if you're going to come, you're going to do that. Now, there's a lot of things that you can say about maybe you don't like Omar Khan. You can say Mike Tomlin, he's a bad coach, whatever it is you want to say. The one thing that you can't say and be honest about saying is the guys aren't stupid. Okay? They're not stupid people. You may not agree with some of the moves that they make, but they're not dumb individuals. So, again, keep all that in mind when you just don't know that they're just like, hey, great, Rodgers, if you come here, just know you're coming and Pickens ain't here. Now, here's the thing about Rodgers. Let's say Rodgers does come to Pittsburgh. He's going to come to Pittsburgh, and then he's going to tell us, Yeah, they told me all along they were trying to get rid of Pickens. So I knew that coming in. So that's the one thing about Rodgers. If he ends up as a Pittsburgh Steeler, he's going to tell us, hey, man, I knew it. They told me right up front. So awareness, that makes sense, B, because he was working out DK. Yeah, not GP. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. That's all I'm saying. But Kel Turner's got a great point. Says GP and DK would have forced teams to play too high, watch for the play action. Now we have to go running our guys into an 8-man box, and then Mike T saying we didn't execute in the presser. I mean, if it's an 8-man box and Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, I feel like he's going to exploit that if he's the quarterback that we think that he is or can be. So I get that. I get that premise. But if it's an 8-man box, I feel like Rodgers is making checks to get out of that and saying, okay, great. You want to throw an 8-man box up here? We're throwing the football. So, but we'll see. But Kel Turner, you're spot on with that assessment. I agree. Teams were going to have to play too high. Couldn't afford not to. Couldn't afford not to. So, let's see. Wicked, how do you feel about Tomlin? Look, I felt the same way about Mike Tomlin for a long time. I like Mike Tomlin. I think he's a smart guy, but his way of trying to win football games is not conducive to how the NFL is played these days. You can't win with a great defense. You can't win playoff games, I should say, with a great defense, great special teams, just enough offense. You're not going to be able to win like that. You can't win like that. And that's what he's trying to do. So you can't win playoff games like that. And until he changes that philosophy, which I thought he had when we got DK Metcalf, I'm like, oh, great. They're changing the philosophy. We got DK, we got GP. I was wrong. So, Matthew Adams, thanks for supporting the channel with the super chat. When has the Steelers developed quarterback? Big Ben. So it's been a minute. But they hadn't had to because they had him for so long. But it's been a minute. So Yinzer Joe says, you really believe Arthur is going to let Rodgers audible plays? I don't think he's going to have a choice, bro. So he's not going to have a choice. If Rodgers wants to audible plays, he's going to audible plays. So, my man Alonzo Dunn, thank you for joining the chat, man. That's all I have to say. Super disappointed. We're disappointed too, Alonzo. Thank you for supporting the channel like you always do. But yeah, we're all super disappointed, bro. I'm disappointed. I can understand moves. I can get it, but that doesn't mean I'm not disappointed. Mr. Anthony Picano, drafting Jack Sawyer when we knew we were dealing GP and not picking a wide receiver is just plain stupid. Yep, I said that earlier. I know you weren't in here. I get it. But yeah, I said the same thing. I said, how are you feeling about that Jack Sawyer pick now in the 4th round? Adding depth versus a wide receiver. And again, I'm not saying that the wide receivers were great in this draft. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is drafting a number 4 wide receiver or a number 4 outside linebacker doesn't seem like the move when you get rid of your starting wide receiver. But that's just me. There used to be a ton of talk about how Pickens wasn't a number 1 wide receiver. Is DK enough to be our number 1? Well, DK is for sure a number 1 receiver. He has been for a while. So that's not up for debate on whether DK was going to be the number 1 receiver in Pittsburgh. So he's been a number 1 receiver. DK Metcalf's been an all-pro. So there is that. How do you know weeks ago that we were trading GP? Do I work for the team? I mean, there was report after report after report after report saying that the Steelers were trying to trade George Pickens during the draft. So unless every single person is lying, and maybe they are, that's how we know. So that's how we know. Unless every single person is lying about it, which I don't think they were, that's how we know. Barron says he loves the trade. Mr. Michael Barron said, I love the trade, but I still think there's a certain amount of confusion amongst the front office. What's the confusion? I don't think the front office is confused. I think they know exactly what they're trying to do. And I mean, I don't think there's any confusion. Robert Woods signing had you scratching your head. Kind of. But Robert Woods is not a replacement for George Pickens. Let's not make a mistake there. Robert Woods is not the replacement. Not even close to the replacement. He is basically the replacement for Van Jefferson. That's what he's the replacement for. And he may not even be that. Smith wouldn't let Wilson audible plays. Why would he let Rodgers? Because it's Aaron Rodgers. So that's why. Aaron Rodgers is twice the quarterback that Russell Wilson could ever dream of being. That's why. And Aaron Rodgers ain't going to come here and say, you're going to hamstring me to do your offense all the time, regardless of what I'm seeing on the football field. He's not going to do that. You know, Russell Wilson needed the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he was willing to do and had to do whatever they wanted him to do. That's not the case with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Lowe brings up a point, says fans really want to make some noise, don't attend the games. Tomlin needs to a real defensive coordinator and get rid of the old ass defensive scheme. I mean, that's not never going to happen. So that's never going to, fans are going to go. Fans are going to go. So you're right as far as what could happen, but that's never going to happen. You are exactly right. I've seen it work in Kansas City before. It was over 20 years ago, but it worked. But that's not going to happen these days, man. Too many Steeler fans. Awareness with the super chat. Again, thanks for supporting the channel. Says, B, I didn't want to say it, but I thought the moment Sawyer was drafted, what if they were trying to deal TJ because they don't want to pay him? I mean, I guess that could still be out there. That could still be out there. So that would be ugly, but it could still be out there. Steven, thank you for supporting the channel, my man. Appreciate it with the super chat. This trade hurt the chances of Rodgers signing with the Steelers. Probably. Either it did or they already told him, hey, man, Pickens ain't going to be on the team this year. You know. And we'll find out. My whole thing is when they trade, if Aaron Rodgers comes here, somebody's going to ask him that question, and he's going to say, no, they already let me know that we were trying to trade him, that there was a strong possibility that he wasn't going to be out there. So, all right, we got our man coming on the show. Our man Jason Jacobs from Mike Drop Sports is dropping by. Jason,
what's up?
How you feeling today, brother?
I don't know how to feel. Here's the real thing. I think it could be a mistake, and then again, it could be okay. I think it could be a mistake because maybe you could have waited and got a little more value for him. I'm not sure. Did they know he was going to sit out or something? I'm really confused. That's where I'm at with it right now.
Right. And that's the whole thing. It's like, look, First of all, I thought they should have played hardball. Let me get this super chat real quick by Dustin here. It says, does Calvin Austin have a chance at wide receiver too? Of course he does, because that's what he was last year. So he absolutely, he was wide receiver too last year. So of course he does. But my whole thinking about it is that if you play hardball, you let him sit out. I did the numbers. If he would have sat out all of minicamp, mandatory minicamp, and all of training camp, he would have lost 3/4 of the money that he made last year. He's a second-round pick. He can't afford that. No. He's not making that kind of money, man. So I'm like, look, if you want to sit out, we're not going to give you this money back. So you sit out if you want to. So he couldn't afford that. So I was like, play hardball. My whole thinking is the Steelers just didn't want him around. I think the Steelers are just completely done with it. They're rebuilding the room, and they just want to move on. Matthew Adams says Big Ben was not ready. We seen that when he went 15-1. I don't know what that means.
He was ready.
I think he was pretty much ready. But what do you think? You think that the Steelers were just done with Pickens?
That's the thing. None of us are inside that building. We don't see the intimate things going on. And perhaps he wore his welcome out. Maybe that's what happened. And you've seen the reports that he was, in love with Mike Tomlin. But where there's smoke, there's fire, and something was going on. Correct. And I don't think they got a return. Would they get a third in future picks? I don't know exactly what it was. But, I don't think the value was what I would have liked to see. But George has done something deep inside of that organization that doesn't sit well with them. And they're willing to separate and go back to exactly the same place they were last year and the year before with just one top flight wide receiver. Or they got a lot of confidence in Calvin Austin.
Right. That's my thinking. It's to the same place. We got so excited, Jason, on the possibilities on what it could be and what it was. And we're like, you know what? Teams are going to have to play the Steelers differently and all of that. And now we're back to where we were. It's like you got DK, great, but we didn't do anything. And now we're back to where we were. We just traded wide receivers is basically what we did. We traded DK Metcalf for George Pickens and everybody else. And it seems disrespectful because, you're discounting Calvin Austin. And I'm not saying Calvin Austin isn't a good football player because he is.
Right.
But Jason, he's not George Pickens. Robert Woods, Ben Skoranek, and those guys aren't Pickens. You could put them all together, and they don't equal George Pickens' talent.
No, and it takes away exactly what everybody was excited for. Two big monsters on the edge that were going to demand respect. You don't have that now, and there's nobody on that roster that can do that. I just don't understand it, really. I think this might end up being perhaps one of the worst moves Omar Khan's ever made on the football field here with this roster. I just think it could end up being that bad.
See, now that's where me and you disagree, is because you look at the roster in totality. Okay, the quarterback room is worse. Look, Aaron Rodgers isn't on our football team. The quarterback room is obviously worse. Is the running back room, though? I don't think it is. Okay, is the offensive line worse? If guys are healthy, I think it's better. Right. Now, wide receiver-wise, you took George Pickens and you plugged in DK Metcalf, and then you have the same guys. Is it worse or is it better? Now, you have to factor in quarterback. Okay, let's say the offense is a little worse because of that. But then you look at the defense. The defense is better. I mean, you can't just look at it and say, oh, the defense is worse. No, it got younger. It got bigger. The defense is better. So is it worse? Well, maybe. If this is the quarterback room, maybe the team is worse. The schedule is more difficult. We replaced the NFC East with the NFC North, and an NFC North is for even Chicago. I mean, that
Right.
division is just insane. When you think our division is crazy, that division is nuts. So we got
Right.
to play that. So the schedule is more difficult. So we'll figure out all of that stuff, but I don't know. I still am not lost. And get the super chat from our man Alonzo Dunn here. He said it was kind of evident. Said Rodgers only throwing to DK. Yeah, it was. We saw
Yeah.
that. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, the roster. Somebody said it was the worst roster, worse than 2021. I was like, you weren't watching football in 2021 if you believe that. The Steelers roster
Right.
that year was atrocious. It's not even close. This roster is miles better than that one.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
I don't know, man. I don't know. I
I
don't
think
know.
why I would say that it could end up being bad
Mm-hmm.
is because, like you said, he wasn't going to miss that money. He couldn't
No.
afford to.
Nope.
So perhaps he comes in and plays lights out, and the Steelers are hell bent on trading him. Okay. But maybe wait. You got till week 8, I believe, is when the trade deadline ends. So maybe perhaps you increase your value enough to where you do get something more than a third because he really shows out. Or he does really well. The Steelers are doing really well, and you just deal with it. And if you want to keep him next year, franchise him. That's where I think that maybe this move looks weird to me.
Right.
That there's something deep rooted that none of us know.
It has to be because that was
Yes,
my feelings all along. Is like, look, unless he is just horrific in the locker room, George
right.
Pickens was under the Steelers' control for the next 3 football seasons.
Yes,
This year, and you could have now people usually don't franchise people twice, but it happens. They could
you
have done
can.
it, and they could have kept him for the next 3 years. He could have been under the Steelers' control.
And
So
they could have paid him. They don't have a quarterback
exactly. They
salary.
could have just paid him. You're right. You're right. They could have just paid him outright, which I was in favor of saying, hey, if he has a good year, minds his P's and Q's, look, this is a payday where he could get upwards of $30 million. If he acts like an idiot now, then he's just a complete idiot. I'm like,
Yeah,
so you could just pay him, but I don't know, Jason. I don't like the move. Nobody's going to be
no.
able to convene. I can be okay with it. I just don't like the move for a football sense. I don't like it.
We just need to see where they go from here because I don't see any potential targets out there for them to gain that are better than George Pickens or equal to George Pickens. I don't see that option out there. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but why would you trade somebody and then go out and trade some for somebody else? That's another thing that doesn't make any sense because you're going to have to add somebody. You don't have high hopes for Roman Wilson. Maybe you do, but they didn't last year. So
Right.
it's puzzling, man. Very, very puzzling.
Yeah, that's the thing is, my only thing was the timing.
Right.
And and I heard, we know all the reports that they were trying to trade him before the draft or during the draft and nobody would bite. And that's fine. But 2 weeks after the draft, and then you didn't take a wide receiver at all in the draft, knowing that you were trying to get rid of him. It's just like, okay, what are we doing?
Right.
And don't get me wrong, there are some receivers out there that are still on the free agent market that would help. The one that I actually would like is Keenan Allen. But Keenan Allen has kind of said, I'm going to go back to the Bears or I'm going to play for somebody on the West Coast. That's kind of been his thing. So I don't know if
Maybe
him
that
coming to
changes.
Pittsburgh is even a reality or not.
Yeah.
Look, Amari Cooper, he's out there. But here's the thing that I know for a fact. Amari Cooper was a problem in the Dallas Cowboys locker room. That's literally why they got rid of him. He was an absolute problem. So they didn't want to deal. Look, they gave Amari Cooper away for a 5th-round pick. Now, we're talking about George Pickens being a problem. Amari Cooper is a miles better route runner than George Pickens. Just miles better. And at the time of the trade, Amari Cooper was still a top 10 wide receiver. And they just gave him away for a 5th-round pick. That's how bad he was in the locker room. Think about that. So Steelers getting a 3rd-rounder is not horrible.
I have a question here. Do they have a lot of faith in Rock Taylor? Is he a hidden gem? Is this it? I don't know. It makes you wonder.
It could be. I mean, I don't know. It could be. Dustin here with the super chat. Thanks for supporting the channel. He says 2026 Steelers draft is going to be stacked. I mean, here's the thing. They got all these picks. It looks like they have 12 picks now. I'm like, they're going to use those picks to move up and do some damage in the draft. You're right, because they're not taking 12 guys. Because 12 guys aren't going to make your roster. That's the thing. So they're going to use those to move up and do some damage in the draft. And I said this earlier, Jason, and I'm pretty sure you agree because we've had this conversation before. The Steelers have been a team that has been in rebuild mode for the last 5 years. They have just rebuilt, but they've been relevant. They've done it in an unconventional way because they always have a good defense. They always play good special teams. So you can win games with just that. And the Steelers do that. And they're just rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding the roster while staying relevant. That's what the Steelers are doing. And this 2026 draft is almost like the crescendo of what the Steelers are building up to rebuild the roster. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. They've been silently rebuilding it while remaining competitive, and I give them props for that. That's awesome. Many teams can't do that. But my worry is with the 2026 draft is if there's all these great quarterbacks at the top, how many teams are going to be willing to separate from that pick no matter what you give them? Because franchise quarterbacks don't just grow on trees, man. I mean, they're not easy to come by. So how many teams are going to be willing to do that? That's my real question. And are the Steelers going to be able to make a move that makes sense to get up there to find somebody to potentially be that guy? Or are you happy with, what you got in Rudolph and Howard and do something else with those picks? But potentially they can move up. And again, I give them kudos for what they've done so far. But you're looking at George Pickens, a guy that's only had 12 touchdowns in 3 years. Maybe it was the right thing. Maybe it's time to move on. There's just a lot of question marks here in some key areas.
There are. Rob here, or R. Barley with the super chat. He said he could kill his stock too. Keep an eye on Romeo Dobbs. He has a relationship with Rodgers now on the block. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that the Steelers would need to trade for him unless it's like a 6th or a 7th round pick in 2027. I don't know that you would need to trade for Romeo Dobbs. Same with Alan Lazard, because that's what Matthew Adams said, Alan Lazard or Keenan Allen. Lazard is actually still on the Jets. We would have to trade for Lazard. Like, he didn't get cut. Right. Keenan Allen's a free agent. So if I'm the Steelers, I look for a free agent signing. I mean, there's like a DJ Chark out there. Like I said, I mean, there's guys that are out there that they can still pick up. I think they got a plan. I think they have a plan. I just, it's you just thought maybe Pickens might have been part of it, Jason. Right. I think that's kind of the thing. You thought maybe Pickens is part of it. But again, I don't have to like the trade, but I can understand it. And the thing about it is, I mean, what was he like for the Steelers to just give up on that talent? Mm-hmm. What was going on in that locker room? It had to be miserable.
I think this next month and the way they navigate this is going to be a big, big telltale whether they're in for this year or perhaps they're not really in for this year, which the Steelers never tank. But they're not going to do anything extra to go out there and make them a winner. So maybe 2026 is the big thing, the end all be all for them. Maybe so, but it's definitely troubling.
Yeah, it's troubling. I just, I like. Look, we can be mad, we can be upset, we can crash out. Look, I think everybody already did, but now, okay, let's settle in.
Over.
What do we do? What's the next thing is like, can we win? Can we win football games? Everybody didn't think we could win last year, and we did.
You're still a 10-win team.
That's even what I'm saying. I don't think anything changes from that. Yeah, go ahead, Jason. Go ahead with that.
Well, you look at Pickens. He has one season with over 1,000 yards receiving. Everything else is 800, 900. And like I said, 12 touchdowns. That's like 5, 4 a year. I mean, the production isn't massive.
No.
You're not missing a huge piece. So maybe you can overcome that. Calvin Austin is taking a step every year. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe that happens. Maybe Roman Wilson does do some things that are special eventually. Robert Woods is dependable. He will get open. He will move the chains. Is he a superstar? No. But he's a
Mm-mm.
champion. He knows how to play in the big moments. So again, you might be solid enough to still do what we all believe. 10, 11 wins in a playoff game. And with DK Metcalf, hey, I think he's better than George Pickens. So you still got a chance.
Yeah, they got an opportunity. Like I said, it's the production as far as what GP gets. It's not like it was 12 or 1,300 yards a year that he was getting in 9, 8, 9, 10 touchdowns a
Right.
season. The problem is the flip side. You could say, well, look at the quarterbacks, look at the offensive coordinator, like our man Self-Made said in the chat. That doesn't matter because the production was still the production, regardless of who the quarterbacks were. So
Yeah.
are we saying that the quarterbacks are a lot better now? I don't think. I mean, it's better, but it's not. I don't. First of all, the quarterbacks from this year are worse than last year. Let's just be clear on that.
Yeah.
But from the previous 2 seasons, okay, yeah, it's a little bit better, but it's not gigantic. So you can't just say, well, look at the offensive coordinator, look at the quarterbacks. The production was the production with the bad offensive coordinator. So if we're saying Arthur Smith is a bad offensive coordinator, this is what he produced with that. So how is it going to be any different? It wasn't, if it was just him. So, and while we're kidding ourselves, DK Metcalf's a better receiver than him. I don't think people want to just come out and just say that. I don't know why you don't, but
He
DK's
is.
better than him. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
And Arthur
as
Smith's a tight end heavy guy. I mean, how often is he going to come out with 5 wide, 4 wide? Not a ton. I mean, he
correct,
does, but maybe that was something that went into the decision also. How was Pickens and his relationship with Arthur Smith? Did that break it? Was that the last straw? What about Coach Z? How was he with the wide receivers coach? Was that a bad relationship?
yeah.
Something's going to come out that's going to be crazy. That's going to be the real reason why the Steelers got rid of him.
Well, Hippopotamus comes up with a great point here and says it. Said we absolutely can't wait for GP to date to obscurity like all the other prima donna wide receivers that are forced out of Pittsburgh. Exactly. I
It
mean,
happens.
it's you got a 3rd round pick. Would you have wanted more? Yes, but if you can't get more, then you take the 3rd round pick and you move on because now I think the Steelers have 4 3rd round picks next year. You can use one of those, move up in the 1st, definitely use another one, try to move up in the 2nd. I mean, you've got some things that you can do, that you can move up. So the 3rd round pick is valuable. It's a day 2 pick, man. That's a valuable asset. Lonzo Dunn with the super chat. He says, guys, I'm tired of all this undercover rebuilding. I watched every Super Bowl win. I'm in my 60s, running out of time. I need a championship. I don't disagree with you, Alonzo. I
Right.
don't disagree with you. But here's the thing. Every team goes through rebuilding. The Steelers just did it a different way. Every single team has to rebuild. Every single one of them. There's no team that doesn't do it. The Steelers are one of them. We just have done it in an unconventional way that, unfortunately, it takes longer versus hitting rock bottom and just stinking for 2 years. The Steelers have decided we'll rebuild and we'll keep a relevant defense, which keeps us in games. And every now and then we're going to win enough games to make the playoffs. That's what
Right.
they've done. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I don't have to agree with it because that's the route that they've chosen, Jason. And here's where we are.
Here's another point, too. You bring up the immense amounts of draft capital that they have. They still don't have to use that in the draft next year. You can start making moves here before the deadline. Perhaps a team falls off that has a superstar wide receiver, that you bundle some of those picks together and you grab a guy for your
Right.
run late in the year. So there's a lot of things they can do with those picks besides take college kids in 2026.
Correct. That's a great point. I brought that up before. Is like, let's just say the Steelers schedule, whatever it is, let's just say they start like they did last year. And you
Mm-hmm.
get to the deadline and you're 7-2. And you're like, well,
Right.
hold on a second, man. You look at the second half of this schedule, they got a chance here. And you go get a guy, a wide receiver that's 26 years old, and you give up a third round pick for him. Well, you got three others,
Yeah.
so what would be the bad thing in doing that? There's moves to be made, and unfortunately, us as fans don't know what they are. And that's the frustrating point, is that we're like, oh, you get rid of Pickens. Well, now what are we going to do? Well, okay, we're going to find out what we're going to do, but I still don't think that we're worse than what we were last year. The wide receiver, the quarterback situation's got to get itself figured out. One way or another, it's got to get it figured out. But I think everywhere else on the roster, I think the Steelers actually got better. They got
Mm-hmm.
better, And again, that's saying a lot as far as the offensive line. The offensive line got to stay healthy, and Broderick Jones has to act like he knows how to play
Yeah.
football. Those are two big ifs, though. But if that happens, the roster, minus the quarterback, is better. It
Yeah.
just is better, And I think that's the realization that, okay, it's time to turn the page. We made the trade. It is what it is. We crashed out. We didn't have to like it. But now let's take a look at the totality of everything. Don't
There's
get me wrong. The
potential there.
Steelers are worse than what they were yesterday. They absolutely are worse than what they were yesterday. But they
Yeah.
didn't play football yesterday either.
No.
They played football last season. And if you look at it from that perspective, then I think we can start talking about, okay, what are we doing? What's going on here? The only part that is the tricky part, and it's a big part, is the quarterback situation. Well, and the offensive line, but the quarterbacking, I don't think is better than last season. Jason, do you?
No. I don't think it is either. And I'm a big Mason Rudolph fan. I think he can win games. Can he win a championship? No. But I think he can win some games. But I think the Steelers find themselves in a good position to take swings at these young guys. But I don't think that you sit them. If you're going to take swing after swing at the quarterback position, play the guys. Put Will Howard in, see what you have. You know what you have in Mason Rudolph. Play the young guy, see what happens until you hit on one. That's just what I say. If that's what you're going to do, if that's the goal of the rebuild here, put Will Howard in, let him sling it, let him learn, and see what happens.
Yeah. I'm not opposed. If he can win the job and he can be competent, I'm not opposed
Yeah,
to it. I'm not
right.
opposed to it at all. Oh, excuse me. Got super chat here from Deb. Said, what are your thoughts on getting Gabe Davis? I mean,
He's cool. I
yeah,
thought he
he's
went
all right.
somewhere though.
Yeah, I think Gabe Davis signed somewhere.
Yeah, I don't
But
think he's on the market. If he
either
was,
way,
I'd get him.
correct.
That's the thing. A lot of these bigger names guys are gone. They're
Yeah,
already
yeah, yeah,
signed
yeah, yeah,
somewhere,
yeah, yeah.
You're probably going to have to execute a trade to get anybody comparable.
Right. Yeah, I just think that we gotta.
Another
It
thing
is what it is at this point, man. It is what it is at this point.
another thing that I noticed and it just popped into my head. I saw Will Howard and Sawyer on Channel 7 with Big Ben.
Yep.
They were talking. One thing I really like, there's guys that truly want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. That makes a difference to me anyway. I think maybe the Steelers are trying to rebuild that way and making additions by subtractions and putting people in that building that are good teammates, want to work, and want to be in Pittsburgh. Maybe that's the case.
Gotcha. I don't disagree. Hey, I just saw
Yeah, I
Gabe
don't
Davis
know.
did get cut by Jacksonville. I forgot about
Oh,
that. Yeah, he got cut. So he's
he
out
played
there.
good in Buffalo.
The thing about Gabe Davis is he played good in big games, but the reason that Buffalo didn't re-sign him is because he was so inconsistent through the year.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, he played next to another big time wide receiver in Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
So the pressure wasn't on him to be the guy, and he was always the second guy. I think when he went to Jacksonville, even though they took Brian Thomas, I think at the beginning they were like, hey, we paid you to be the guy, and he's not the guy. So that could be another possibility for the Steelers too. And this guy, he could stretch the field. He's not going to command huge dollars. Maybe they go that. Maybe that's a route. I mean, again, it makes sense. It could make sense. I don't disagree with it. So
maybe they should have been more aggressive in the draft or something. Maybe they should have tried to figure that out if you knew you were going to get rid of Pickens. And if you were going to trade him, I think it should have been during the draft to where you could have converted him into a player now instead of next year. That's my only real thing with this, I think, the more I think about it.
Yep. And that's the thing. Adam says Davis got cut. Alan Lazard come on down. Alan Lazard looks like, he restructured his deal to stay with the Jets. It looks like the Steelers could give him the Jets a 7th round pick in 2027 if they wanted to get Alan Lazard. And I'd say, okay, if you want him, if that's going to make Rodgers happy, who it looks like may be the quarterback, then go ahead and get him. Give him the 7th round pick, bring him in. It is what it is.
I just hope we're not playing that game of catering to Aaron Rodgers and that last crap that was going on in New Jersey.
Yeah.
If that happens in Pittsburgh, I'm sorry. If Aaron comes, cool, but I don't think you dictate the way the roster's built. I don't think you get to make executive moves. I don't know. I don't think he's good enough still to do that.
Correct. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the chat's talking about Cooper Kupp didn't want to come here. Yeah, Kupp was, first of all, he's a West Coast guy. He wasn't leaving, and he didn't. And why would he want to come here? That's one thing you got to talk about it. Somebody's talking about Gabe Davis. He only has one route. You're right. He does. And that was the thing in Buffalo. That's why I said he's not a number one wide receiver. His route tree doesn't qualify him to be a number one wide receiver. And Jacksonville paid him like he was going to be. And he didn't live up to that because that's not who he is. Well, he doesn't have to do that with Pittsburgh. He's got to block. He's got to be able to get open deep. That's one of the things that he's got to do. Do you want to go get that? Maybe.
He only lasted 1 year in Jacksonville.
He was only there 1 year in Jacksonville. And Jacksonville
that
finally
tells you a lot.
Like, oh, yeah, this guy isn't the guy.
Right.
This is not the guy.
Yeah.
And they drafted a wide receiver that's a top 10 talent, too. I don't think he's a top 10 receiver quite yet, but he's right on the verge. And they were like, yeah, we'll go young at wide receiver. Let's move on from this guy. He's not who we need.
Save some money.
So we'll see, man. We'll see. Well, Jason, man, I'm going to shut this one down for the day. I appreciate you coming on. And appreciate everybody in the chat, man. Look, I get it. It's I don't like the trade. I'm not going to sit here and lie and be a hypocrite and say that I like the trade. I do not like the trade at all. But they made it. And there ain't nothing that any of us can do about it. All we can do is say, okay, now we got to try to get better. So
that's it.
That's the only thing we can do is just sit here and try to get better. So I appreciate everybody being in here, man. Thank you guys as always. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you guys sign up. Make sure you also go sign up for Mike Drop Sports on Jason's channel. Make sure you go over there and subscribe to his channel. He does a ton of good stuff over there. So we appreciate you guys, man. Talk to you guys soon, and aloha.